Just doing my thing.
Thank you for tuning in to the Voice of C38. I am Brendan Wyatt. Joining me today is most of my cast. In studio is Matt.
Hello.
Couldn't do it without him. This thing would fall apart. Just saying, technically, sound-wise,
Barely together
program-wise.
as it is.
Yeah, well, we're working on it. Special guest in studio. Most of you C38 fans, members, listeners will recognize the name, Quinn.
Good to be here, guys.
Super excited. We're going to talk supporters culture today. Nobody better than Quinn to help us out with that and kind of.
Because nothing's going on with the Rapids.
Right.
Really.
There's not really a whole lot of
I'll try to stretch that out.
chat as far as the Rapids go. We'll get to that in a minute. Can't forget Austin, the drunken monk.
No matter how hard we try.
Greetings.
Yeah. He's been the silent monk for the most part. You know, can't quite figure out his sound issues as we're trying to, as we've talked about the last two podcasts, you know, wanting to up our game a little bit, get some streaming live stuff going. So as we're working on the kinks, that's kind of some of the issue. It's been more of a knot today than a kink, but working through it. Anyway, if you haven't hit us on Facebook, hit us a like at the Voice of C38 on Facebook.
We're up to 24.
Woo, yeah. But we got like a few hundred people downloading every week, so get on it, guys. And we'll start adding more input on the Facebook page as the season starts unwinding.
As we have stuff to say.
As Matt alluded to, there really isn't a whole lot to talk about this week as the Rapids are wrapping up their training and their spring training preseason in LA. They did have a scrimmage. It was a draw, but they were able to equalize late.
Badgie, I think, right?
Yep. Badgie had a goal. And then if you had paid attention to some of the Rapids Facebook, they had also shown some pictures of a Badgie Gordon hookup as far as a goal. And the guys are out there. They're you know, playing around, and it's spring training, really. So.
Oh, yeah. Don't take this seriously. And the Desert Diamond Cup as well. Remember last year? It's largely experimental. Try to have a sense of humor about it.
And the more experimental it is, the more I'm happy about the situation, because then I know that the coaches are looking at who they can work with and what kind of chemistry each player has with other players on the field. You know, you need to have 11 guys get along in order to win the cup. And, you know, they're starting now. So
I always kind of wondered if there's experimental with the roommate situation this time of year as they are with the on-field situation.
I would think so. I mean, it was that way in general when I played, and it wasn't at that level, but we were always mixing up who was staying with who. And then obviously, you know, guys get the reputation throughout the team, like, oh, that guy does this or that guy does that. And we got a little bit of insight thanks to some of Brian's questions at the tailgate last year. Doyle's
Some like it hot.
Doyle's antics on how Gashi likes it is pretty funny. So there really isn't, you know, a whole lot to talk about. We weren't really able to see the stream of the games, so there really wasn't a whole lot as far as analyzing what we saw, because we really didn't see anything.
Rumor is Tasha Knowles says that the future ones shall be streamed, and hopefully that's true through the Rapids website, I believe.
Hey, I'll take it. I mean, if there's an opportunity to watch the Rapids play, I'm going to take it as best as I can. I mean, work and regular schedule gets in the way. That's why Brian's not here today. But other than that, you know, I'm going to do what I can to get my eyes on the Burgundy boys, kick the ball around. Until
then, though, supporters culture reigns supreme.
So let's talk about that supporters culture. You just came back from the ISC, the Independent Supporters Council. Tell us a little bit about that, and where was it at this year, and kind of what is it? Because there's probably a handful of people that aren't really aware that there's even such a thing.
Right. So back in 2009, a bunch of supporters groups got together. We met in a pub in Seattle and sort of discussed how we wanted to, you know, kind of organize going forward and, you know, help grow the supporters movement in this country and really make it take off. And out of that meeting kind of became what is now the Independent Supporters Council, the ISC, and which is kind of morphed into what is the Modern Supporters Summit, which now is an annual thing where supporters groups will send representatives of their leadership to this meeting, and so we'll do things, swap stories figure out best practices, that kind of stuff. Figure out how to deal with the league on, certain issues that concern supporters and that type of thing.
So how many delegates, so to speak, are sent from each
One
supporters
Republican,
group?
one Democrat.
Right.
So each supporters group typically sends 2. Sometimes groups will bring more. We actually brought 4 this year because normally Levi and I are actually our designated representatives for Colorado supporters. But we decided to bring 2 other guys because we want to get more people introduced to that environment, because it is extremely useful having those connections, and being able to talk to other supporters and figure out what sort of problems they've dealt with helps us kind of look at the issues we have here and how we can solve problems, help grow, help be more effective, and all those type of good things.
And then there's someone from the league that you guys are you work with directly as far as the supporters and the leagues?
We have a very complicated relationship with the league, to say the least. I mean, there's definitely an emphasis on the independent part of the Independent Supporters Council. We're not sanctioned by the league or anything like that. The league has no real dealings with us. We've had representatives who we talked to in the past. It's difficult when we've been given representatives in the past, because a lot of times they just kind of pay us lip service, tell us what we like to hear, but they don't actually have any real power to get anything done. So short of talking to Don Garber, people in his inner circle, there's not a whole lot of leverage we can have on the league to get much done. So it goes back and forth a little bit. There's some people we have good relationships in the MLS office with, and there are others that we don't have a very good relationship with either.
Overall, though, what would you say the relationship is with the league? Do you feel comfortable with the league? Do you feel like there isn't a whole lot of issues that are currently standing? I mean, obviously you can't please everyone.
Well, that's a pretty broad
right
stroke. In fact, I was going to ask, we probably find we have some things very good compared to other clubs. Our supporters groups, we have some things maybe worse than others.
We do. We're in a pretty good situation here. I would say, just for comparison's sake, our relationship as Rapids supporters and C38 with the Rapids front office is better than the overall supporters relationship with MLS.
Wow.
And
that doesn't surprise me.
No, it doesn't, but it makes me feel good.
Ever since I've joined MLS Trash Talk, it doesn't surprise me one bit that they don't get along with the MLS.
No, and I mean, a lot of it has to do with restrictions. You've seen all the bans and stuff that get blown up over social media over various things.
I was thinking of NYCFC in their inaugural season. Pretty much wouldn't allow you to do anything you couldn't do at a Yankees game, which just flew in the face of soccer culture. And
they have a very unique issue too. One thing the IC has been able to do is force the league to implement best practices for what kind of things are allowed in stadiums universally, how tickets are allocated to away supporters, that kind of thing, security details. So there's definitely some material things that have come out of us being able to band together and do that. We're not just a bunch of nerds that go to a convention and just whine about stuff. But
are we going to get smoke bombs like Portland, I think, still has?
Well, and that's another thing too, because kind of tracking back to NYCFC, they can't really do best practices because a lot of it's at the behest of the New York Yankees and their policy, and they're ultimately the people that control that. And we've pushed for smoke in the past. Our front office is actually totally on board with it. They would love if we could do it, but our biggest stopping block is actually the fire marshal of Commerce City. He is the real reason why we can't pyro in that stadium.
Wow.
So we need to lobby the mayor, get him to become a fan.
Or just get a C38 person to take that position. That's what you need.
Yeah, kind of like Quinn's idea there. Just get somebody.
In addition to Capo, C38 is looking for a fire marshal. Qualified candidates, email Quinn.
My neighbor's a fire guy, big chief, North Metro Fire or something like that. I wonder if hey, how many beers would it take? It would probably take a lot for him, I think.
How many kegs would it take?
But as far as the you would say that the culture has definitely been able to grow because of the ISC, would you say?
Yes, and we've taken some good things away from that meeting. So just for comparison's sake, when we first sat down, because I actually attended that meeting in that pub in 2009 in Seattle, in Colorado were kind of the example of everything that was wrong with supporter club relationship. I mean, that was really at the low point. That was pre-terrace. We were still in that little sliver section of 100. Security was still extremely anal with us. Our front office wasn't particularly interested in working with us at all. And, over those years, our relationship has improved. And some of that has been in part due to, kind of knowledge and best practices we've learned from other supporters groups. And honestly, we're in a really good position now in terms of leadership, stability, and, kind of various things we figured out in our organizational structure. We're probably among the most stable supporters groups in the league now.
Way to be proud C38 members.
Yeah, now legendarily, Atlanta has some 32 supporters groups. Who gets to come to the ISC? Do they all get invited, or just the major guys?
Typically the way they do it, even though we haven't really strictly enforced that rule, it's supposed to be, each group can send representatives, but whenever we have to vote on an initiative or something like that, it's one vote per club. So if you're one of those clubs that just has a clown car of supporters groups, you still only get one vote.
That's got to be chaotic, because I was actually thinking how I had chatted with that kid from Orlando, and he was talking about it wasn't just Ruckus. He had the Lion Firm and
all up the coast.
Yeah, it was massive. So I would hate to have to be in a situation like that where one vote counts. When you've got clown car I love that analogy, man. That's awesome. So coming from, where was the summit this year?
The summit this year was in Atlanta. Terminus Legion, which is the largest of the Atlanta supporters groups, graciously hosted this year. And we try and pick a different city each year. Last year was in Chicago. The year prior, we actually hosted. For those of you that were around for that, we threw a bunch of big parties, and it was a lot of fun. And we've also held it in Philadelphia, Portland, Kansas City, Los Angeles. I think that's all of them.
So is it kind of like the Olympics that each town or city kind of puts in their bid, and how many years are you guys up? Do you have next year scheduled?
We try and rotate East Coast, Central, West Coast, just in terms of accessibility, because particularly with smaller groups, it's more difficult to get people to travel out for those type of things. So we try and rotate so that it's accessible for everybody. But in terms of bidding, it's just kind of whoever wants to pony up and do it sometimes. There's a couple instances where cities have had to compete, but by and large, we're not that sophisticated.
I'll have to start assigning it pretty soon.
Hey, I liked the idea of cities having to compete.
It's kind of in the nature.
It shows the size of just how much soccer is growing in the United States. If there's actual, it's coming down to their supporters summits. You can make fun of Comic-Con and all those kind of things. And most of us listeners have one niche or another that we follow, whether it's Star Wars or Harry Potter or whatever.
Or something not completely nerdy.
Yeah, exactly.
Maybe it's your soccer team. And it's there. And I kind of, I'm enjoying the fact that Quinn's here to talk about supporters culture, and that there is kind of, this overall sense of togetherness. We don't hate you. You don't hate us, even though we may.
Well, unless you're Salt Lake.
Even though on game day, things change on game day. But, after those 90 minutes, 120 minutes, if it needs to be, you're back to just being a fan of your team again. And
Yeah.
I just want to clarify that doesn't actually change for me with Salt Lake.
That's right.
Yeah, LA, Galaxy, Orlando, you guys need to lighten the hell up on Twitter. Stop holding grudges against these game time tweets. It's really petty.
It's petty and somewhat amusing too. I laugh.
It's amusing till like day 3 after. It's like, still really fuck off.
Yeah, the guys are training and moving forward. You can now too.
You have a whole nother opponent to deal with now. Move on.
Is there anything that? So you mentioned the practices and kind of how you guys are going about stuff. So is there anything new this year that you guys took away from the summit that just the members might need to maybe be aware of if there's any sort of changes or anything like that, good or bad?
So there aren't going to be a whole lot of significant changes probably in relation to just the average member participating in our activities. A couple things we walked away with that were particularly insightful. The first was how to effectively scale our merch. And I know everybody gets a little weird when you talk about money, but it's an important part of what we do because it helps finance a lot of the things we do. Everything ranging from TIFO, tailgates, podcasting, that pretty much everything
trips
we do.
To RSL.
Yeah, the away trips.
Trips to Salt Lake. We're definitely setting some money aside for that Salt Lake trip, so that's going to be on people's radar coming up pretty soon.
Sweet. We're
going to push that really, really hard, so hopefully we can get several hundred people out there. I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah.
I forget, is that that's on a Friday again, is it?
No, it's
Saturday in August.
A Saturday in August, okay.
Yeah, it's nice because it's the first real proper away day on the schedule we've had with them in several years, because the league has been rather rough with us in terms of the away scheduling for those Rocky Mountain Cup games.
And they don't play Sundays, allegedly.
Right.
Yeah, it's a really nice breath of fresh air.
And that drive really isn't a bad drive. If no
Not
one's
in
made
August,
it,
no. Not in August.
if there's two trips you should make, it should either be Salt Lake or Kansas City. Either one of those two trips, they're about the same distance.
Trip, not drive for Kansas City. In Kansas City, the drive not the same as the drive to Salt Lake. You can enjoy the trip.
Well, neither drive's particularly good, but that's why the bus is there. You can drink on the
Right.
bus.
And if you do it the C38 way, you don't have to worry about the drive. You've got beer in your hand the whole way. You're set up. It's going to be cheaper than if you were to do it by yourself. So, yeah, stay tuned, guys, to that little roadie as we kind of went on a nice little RSL tangent. I like it.
So the other big thing we also took away from the summit, that at least I personally took away from it, was, another thing we like to share amongst the supporters groups is sort of the community outreach stuff and sort of the nonprofit status things we do. When we first founded the Independent Supporters Council, only one of all the supporters groups was actually a nonprofit. Now, probably about 95% of all the supporters groups are nonprofits.
Holy shit.
A lot of them do community outreach, and so we were brainstorming on ideas on things we can do here. And, of course, last year we finally got our nonprofit registration for C38 and our, sort of spin-off organization called the Orr Foundation, which I'm sure other people have talked about at length, but we're really...
At length.
It's been touched, but we haven't, not at length yet.
Well, and we haven't had that big of a footprint last year, but this year we're really going to try and ramp it up and have more of an impact, because it's a very good resource for us in terms of, making the group grow and also, giving back to the people that help make this community special.
What were some of those things that you were thinking of?
So one thing that they actually did in Portland a couple years ago was a program called Operation Pitch Invasion, where they raised money to build soccer fields and futsal courts in lower income neighborhoods. And the person that did that project has spun it off into its own organization that's completely separate from Portland supporters, but now he wants to go national with it, and so he's reaching out to other MLS cities and other supporters groups to see what the interest level is to, maybe get a futsal court built out here or something like that. And, who to talk to for, supplies, getting it built, what your cost overhead is, that kind of thing. Nuts and bolts stuff like that.
All the behind the scenes stuff that, we're not really pertain to. So I like that. Anything else?
Well, I read today that the first away viewing party will be benefiting the Orr Foundation.
Yep.
All proceeds.
Yep.
So.
All proceeds. And, we're trying to raise a little bit of capital with that, so then we can start, leveraging, more charity work and that kind of thing.
When I lived in Portland, another thing we did, because I was active with the Timbers Army too, as a community, we did built stuff like community gardens, but they bring the players out to help
Yeah.
And I got a video of my son with Pamodo moving a wheelbarrow full of dirt. And it was the best day. It's where I found out that Will Johnson's a prick. Because he showed up for the camera, then he drove off without lifting a finger. And I've hated him ever since that day.
Oh, that's
What a
why.
douche.
So that can make or break your image as a player, too. But it's an amazing draw for the crowd, for the public, too.
Wow, I'm still stuck on the whole, like, you just broke a little bit of news there.
That
like,
guy was such a prick.
There's the hidden meaning behind the any fan or any enemy of Will Johnson is a
Now you
friend
know where
of mine.
that's why where that Gordon love comes from.
So Quinn, with the ISC and our group growing so significantly last year, how do you see us handling that type of growth? Like we really like the tailgate went from a few hundred people normally to probably 1,000 will be this season. Like we could be hitting those numbers. How do we handle that kind of a growth, and how do you handle that outside of that on the Capo stand and that kind of thing, like controlling the chance and that kind of thing? Because it's got to be a lot more difficult with that many more people.
Yeah, I mean the scale grew just immensely in terms of the scope of what we have to do and what we have to take care of. Last year was certainly the largest growth in supporters culture in Colorado that I've ever seen, and I've been doing this for over a decade, so that's probably the biggest growth we've ever had, period. We've kind of talked about this, and I know people have spoken to us on how we need to be effective in engaging new members, getting them more involved in the culture, and help us kind of expand that core membership that really kind of makes this thing live and breathe. But, it's not just one specific thing you got to do. It's a whole lot of other things. But I think one thing we're going to focus on this year is doing more supporters-oriented sort of group activities, making the viewing parties a little more interesting and elaborate than, sometimes it's good to just go to a pub and drink a couple beers and show up for a game, but it does get a little stale after a while, and you want to try and keep people more engaged and more interested. That's also kind of circles back to sort of the OR Foundation activities and doing things like that.
Are you looking at the Capo people, those folks, to be more MC style in the viewing party as well? Keep the energy going there too?
Or is that something that we would be providing?
We still need capos because I ain't doing it.
Well, and there's a fine line between keeping it, to have that organic feel, and as opposed to feeling like a high school pep rally where it's super cringy and super forced. And
Yeah, I was way too cool for those.
yeah, I was too.
I was making out with chicks in the back.
Yeah,
somewhere.
right.
But
That one
yeah,
was-
you always want to keep it organic.
Just
You
got
don't want to
called out.
force anything, and you kind of just are trying to steer the group in a direction rather than absolutely force them to do something specific.
Right.
Do you want to break it up with a game, or do you want to...
Yeah, absolutely. Well, unless Austin, you got anything else?
Well, I was going to ask him, since I know that they're searching for new capos for this
Okay, we can have
coming
that.
season.
Yeah.
What do you think is necessary to handle that role? You've been doing it for a long time. You're very good at it. What's
It's a
really
skill.
required of somebody to do it?
It is a skill I would dream of having.
Now, before we start, I also have to let people know Quinn's the guy who, when he's doing this, there's no shirt on.
None of
No
them have a
matter
shirt on.
right, but no matter the weather.
No, none of them have a shirt on. No
So-
matter the
No,
weather.
he was kind
First
of a sissy
and
last
foremost-
year. He had like a cold or something.
Yeah, I had the Ebola. that forced me to put on a shirt for a couple games there, but
for the most part, the reputation is
But the,
hell or high water. I am doing this without a shirt. So
and-
first, you got to be able to have that kind of tolerance for
And
the
you got
weather.
to make the ultimate sacrifice because your back is to the pitch most of the game, and that's just got to kill.
it was easier when we were in the north end because you could still look up at the scoreboard. So you kind of pray that the Kroenke will actually spend some money on that stadium and put a screen in the south end. But for the time being, yeah, you are sacrificing some of the game. Though the reality is, even when I'm capoing and I could see the screen, I couldn't, watch the game and analyze it. So that's what wonderful things called DVRs are for.
Right.
But, in terms of qualities you want in somebody that's going to Capo, I mean, you want somebody that doesn't just get up there and speak or yell. You want somebody that can communicate with their body language. I mean, anybody can yell into a megaphone, but if you're just kind of standing there like a statue, you're not really getting people engaged. Because energy is contagious. If you're energetic, they're going to be energetic. I mean, you're trying to get people motivated and, you know, involved in the atmosphere. You're not a tour guide at Universal Studios. And, you know, another quality, and people that aren't afraid to yell and do that kind of stuff also need to be able to keep some semblance of rhythm. I know that sounds a little strange, but you do need to be able to figure out how to time things, how to keep in sync with the drums, how to also communicate with the drummers to keep everybody, you know, going at the same pace, because that's one issue you can run into when the section gets bigger, is that you kind of lose tempo depending on what part of the section you're in, or even depending on what part of the stadium you're in for some of the bigger stuff. So it gets really disjointed and it doesn't have the same effect. So
you're like a conductor. You're just
yeah, to some extent.
A little bit.
maybe if I could do the tuxedo body paint.
Yeah, a shirtless conductor.
All with a bow tie.
That's honestly what I was visualizing. That's a great way of putting it, because I was just kind of like, yeah.
No, I watch Capos and it's amazing to me. I'm such an introverted person. I couldn't stand in front of that many people and then yell and lead them in something.
It's very hard.
Terrifies me. I'd rather die.
It's insanely difficult. Like, people don't realize how much work it really is. And I've guest capoed, with air quotes, with Quinn a few times, and it's just like, it's insane what he does up there and what they do up there, and people should really notice that. I think people in general do, but it's first of all a great way to get noticed, great way to join the organization. You really get to be involved.
Not a novice move. I wouldn't join with the Capos, man. Join with the tailgate. Work your way up.
I mean, it takes a certain personality to be able to do that, but some of those, like any skill, it can be taught. I mean, you can teach some of those things, but there are some innate things you can't teach, so there's a little bit of a balance between that. I know I wasn't as good when I first started as I probably am now, though I also, now that I'm older, don't quite have the stamina I used to when I was in, you know, my late 20s. So I can't quite go as hard and as long as I used to. That I will say that game against LA, where I had to do it for 120 minutes plus penalties, was extremely brutal. I was pretty much a corpse after that. So
2 days of recovery time.
That's part of the reason why we're recruiting, is so you don't have to go that entire game. We can have just a core group of people, and you can rotate. You can do, you know, one half for 20 minutes or that kind of thing. And then that also kind of gives you the freedom, if you want to take a break and, you know, enjoy the game a little bit, be up in the stands with everybody else, you have that freedom to do that.
How important is it to be able to come up with new chants, and get new chants started?
I think that's important, having good spontaneity and being able to kind of be able to read the crowd and where chants are going, or if a chant's about to die, or if there's dead air and when to pick up something. But yeah, being able to, you know, come up with stuff on the spot is definitely a good skill.
What's been your favorite chant?
My favorite chant?
That's a good question.
There's a couple good ones. I like the Roll Along, Colorado Roll Along one. One of our TIFO guys actually came up with the lyrics for that one.
Nice.
I'm partial to that one. The Lumbambada is always a popular one. That's the one where, for those of you that don't know, that's the one where everybody's jumping back and forth and waving their arms and clapping and all doing it in sync and coordinated.
Nice. We got to get some kind of a video of all these chants and lyrics and everything laid out for people to learn them.
It would be good to have.
Timber's
Maybe
Army
even...
does pass out chant sheets ahead of every game. I know that's a very expensive endeavor.
Well, and we've tried song sheets in the past. The way we've implemented them hasn't worked particularly well. Basically, because usually they just get thrown away, or what happens is people hold them up in front of their face, so they're like the tabernacle choir, not really like a supporter, so they've got this thing in front of their face, and they're not really projecting. But we did post some of our songs on Facebook in a post one time last year, and that was surprisingly successful. So we're actually going to have a section on the C38 website this year that's going to be dedicated to songs. So we're going to make that more accessible to people.
Awesome.
Ooh.
Awesome.
Hey, to help you out, if you can get us recordings of those chants, we will play them at the end of our set.
Yeah.
Yeah, it'd be nice to get recordings, and we've tried that too. And that's one of those things that really does have to happen organically. Otherwise, it just doesn't have the same effect.
It's not like we could bring a bunch of people in here and say, all right, go, hit, when we hit record. And
No, and it's been tried in the past, stuff like that. And yeah, it's super cheesy and cringeworthy. It just doesn't have the same effect.
yeah.
And then it's one of those things you have to find a better venue for it to record it, whether it's a bunch of people singing in a bar or, singing at the stadium if you have good enough microphone placement, that kind of thing. Another thing that's been really handy for us, and maybe something we need to talk to our bus people about, but for some instances when we've done new chants, we've actually gotten some of our bus captains that, run the pub buses that come out to the stadium. They will actually teach people the song and they'll work on the bus. And so they already kind of know what they've got in their head. So when the Capo's up there putting this new thing forward and then, 20 people that know it chime in, that's a big boost to getting it to catch on.
Right. That's a big help too.
I was thinking about one thing. I'm not going to run for Capo, but one thing that a Capo could do, because we could probably get a viral video going if we can get some kind of a disco flash mob going. I think you get 2 sections doing a disco flash mob. No one's done that in a soccer game. I looked.
Interesting.
Hey, whatever.
If you want to go viral, disco flash mob.
I'm pretty sure we'll go viral.
We could start it now, just putting it out by our little whisper, the Voice of C30 podcast. But, you've got until March 4th, guys.
I don't know how to organize something like that, but that's where
Disco
you come in.
young lad.
Disco what?
Disco back when Matt was a young lad.
That's right.
Right.
That's right. Getting back to my roots.
Little hot chocolate, you sexy thing, something like that.
Break into Electric Boogaloo.
Yep. Brick.
Any flash mob probably would do. I looked up any kind of video of stadium flash. It doesn't exist that I could find.
Flash mob. That's something to think about.
There you go.
He put it in the air. All right, so you got a game for us.
Sure. At your behest. Trying to rip off someone on, I think, Fox Soccer or something.
A little
The
bit.
throw
And it's
ball.
all Brendan's fault.
Lest you rip off somebody else's game, I had to come and make up my own. So I've come up with a game. Yours was what now?
Well, it was retired or not retired.
Retired or not retired?
Yeah.
Mine is Footy or Fascist.
Okay.
And I'd read you a name. You guys are going to tell me if this is a football player or a fascist leader.
Oh.
It could be from any time period, from any country.
Okay.
All right, so number 1. We'll start with the name Yaya Jammeh. Is that a footy or a fascist?
My vote's Footy.
Fascist.
Yeah, I feel like this is a trick question because somebody's going to think, oh, it's got to be some African player you've never heard of. I'm going to go with fascist.
Obviously, if you'd heard of them, it wouldn't be a fun game. So they're all people you should have heard of. All right, he is, in fact, a fascist. President of the Gambia from 1994 to 2017. His greatest hits include abduction and poisoning of over 1,000 Gambians for witchcraft. In 1996, mind you.
He's keeping it real. 96. Witchcraft.
Witchcraft in 96.
Wow.
Dude did not want to go, but he just finally abdicated this last month. Good luck to you, the Gambia.
Oh, wow.
All right, number 2, Samsaran.
Well, I was wrong with my last answer, so I'll go with Footy this time.
Footy.
I think I'm going to lean towards Footy as well.
All right, that is indeed a football player. He played for the Cambodian national team in the early 70s before the Khmer Rouge dismantled all leisure activities and actually was part of the crew that took Cambodia to the Asian Cup final in 1972, the last time they were actually a very fierce opponent.
Yeah, I wouldn't have thought of Cambodia at all as somebody relevant.
Or the entire Asian Confederation.
The next one, Iki Kita. The name is Iki Kita. Footballer
You're
or
actually
fascist?
pronouncing that right.
I have no idea. Would that help you if I pronounced it?
Probably not.
I could say
No.
Ike Kaita. Would that help you?
But I can blame it on that all I want.
Maybe if you said it in an accent.
Could you do that in an Irish accent?
Ike Kaita.
Oh, then I'm going to go fascist.
I'll go Footy. Just argue with him.
Yeah, I'll go with Footy as well.
Oh, Brendan wins. Yeah. This was a Japanese fascist who led the failed coup attempt of 1936 and was then executed a year later. He failed. And that's the price you get for failing a coup attempt.
You're cool in a woo.
Number 4. Jose Antonio Primo de Rivera y Sáenz de Heredia.
Well, that's totally like...
Could you do that in a Scottish accent?
Not
Jose Antonio Primo de Rivera y Sáenz... No, I can't.
You were pretty close, though.
I can't roll my R's. That's the thing that separates me from a real Scotsman.
Oh, man. Fascist.
I'll go Footy.
Austin?
Fascist.
Quinn is wrong.
Ah,
He was. I was trying to get you with the long name. You'd think, oh, that's got to be someone with a nickname like Kaká. Or,
yeah, that's totally where I was
I
leaning.
briefly thought that.
Yeah. See, no, he was a Spanish fascist founder of the Falange Españole, which believed in the supreme reign of Spain. He was executed by firing squad in 1936.
All right, I was going to say what time frame, but 1936. It's like the Red Dead time frame.
Next up, Reza Ghoochannejhad. Reza Ghoochannejhad.
Now do that in a Jamaican accent.
Reza Ghoochannejhad.
Oh, then he's Footy.
I'm gonna go with Footy.
Yeah, I'm going to go Footy as well.
You're all correct.
Yeah.
He is an Iranian football player.
I was thinking that.
He currently plays with SC Heerenveen in the top tier of the Netherlands.
Oh, he's current, too.
He is a current player.
All right.
All right. Number 6. Diniar Bilyaletdinov.
Oh, he's Russian. That's fascist.
Diniar Bilyaletdinov.
Or Ukrainian. I'm fascist still, no matter what.
Brendan is a fascist. Got
Oh,
it.
wait, no, I'm not. I'm
Man.
voting. Oh, wait, that doesn't sound good either.
At least you're not a
I'll
hacker.
go Footy.
Right?
I'll go Footy. Why not?
You might throw me with a Russian name. Yeah.
I keep going Footy, but I'm going to stick with it.
He is a football player.
Damn it. You did. Threw me with a Russian name.
He is a Russian football player. He plays for FC Rubin Kazan in the city of Kazan in the Republic of Tatarstan. And his name is worth 34 points in Scrabble.
It's good to know.
Yeah,
It's an actual word.
Matt has a lot of free time.
I do.
Leave me that spelling. I gotta, the wife is kicking my ass in Words with Friends.
Number 7, Maximiliano Hernandez Martinez.
See, with a name like Maximiliano, I would want to say Footy. I really do. So I'm gonna still stick with that.
I'm going to go fascist.
Austin?
Fascist.
Damn it.
He is, in fact, a fascist. President of El Salvador from 1931 to 1944, he led the 1932 Peasant Massacre, where estimated 10 to 40,000 people were killed.
And I laughed.
In 1944, he fled to Honduras, and then 12 years later, he was stabbed to death by his driver, who was the son of one of those victims.
Well, yay.
There you go.
Decisions matter.
Yeah.
Karma,
Yes.
man.
It follows you,
Yeah.
even to Honduras.
That's the karma bank.
Number 8, Flory Redford.
That's too easy.
Flory Redford.
Redford. I said easy, and I'm still back and forth. Well, the last one was fascist. Footy.
I think I'm
Yeah, I
going
think
to
I'm
go.
gonna go Footy.
I'm going to go fascist.
Football player. Yes.
Ah,
In fact, a woman football center forward for the Dick Kerr Ladies FC of 1917.
Wow.
This team and the Women's League in World War One ravaged England was so successful, selling up to 50,000 plus tickets per game, that it was deemed a threat to men's football and led to the FA of London banning women's leagues for 50 years.
Holy crap, it was a league of their own.
That's funny.
It is an unsung story, the story of women's football in England.
Oh, where's the documentary on that
I
shit?
know, right? Someone's got to be making it.
Fleming.
If I can find it.
Or the
someone else
cheesy
can.
Oscar bait Hollywood movie.
That's, yeah, somewhere in between. Even a Hallmark
All right.
or BN Network could do it.
Which leads me to number 9.
Okay.
Footy or Fascist, the Football Association of London. In London.
Fascist.
They would be fascist because of that. Yes, hopefully reformed. Hopefully. And last but not least, or Donald Trump. Donald J. Trump, Footy or Fascist?
Well, that's definitely not footy.
Yeah,
I thought he
definitely
played.
not funny.
I thought he played winger for the Kashima Antlers in Japan or something like that. I don't know. The name's vaguely familiar, but it's just not ringing a bell.
Might have played in the Russian league.
Maybe.
Austin?
A fascist.
Well, Donald Trump is an aspiring fascist, but actually, in this context, a footballer. Trump did play varsity soccer in high school at the New York Military Academy. He is reportedly the greatest player the school has ever seen, with an uncanny ability to switch from left winger to right winger with absolutely no explanation. And the winner, a tie. Austin and Quinn with 6 points each.
Ooh.
I do not have a tiebreaker question.
Something to think about for next time.
I did not count on a tie.
I'll Rochambeau you for it. I go first.
Well, dang. I like it. Footy or Fascist. That's a good game. We might have to do that again. Do another version of it because there's probably a lot of names out there.
It's my homage to the world game and how diverse the
Exactly.
names are. And you just don't know.
We might have to come up with another one in another week or two, kind of space it out a little bit, but I like it. And maybe we'll come up with a tiebreaker question in the case that there's a tiebreaker.
Now I know that
Keep
can
one in
happen.
the chute.
Right? And then,
I'll text Mike Pence for a deciding vote.
There you go.
Pretty sure he's going to pick Quinn.
Because he likes topless boys.
Ooh, shots fired.
all right. Well, in closing, anything?
Hey, let's ask Quinn some important questions.
Okay. Let's do it.
What is
What's
your
his
favorite
favorite
beer?
drink?
As he's sipping on... I was going to ask, what do you think of that little Kona beer there?
That's actually pretty good.
Nice. It's my favorite little... Went to their brewery in Kona, and it was a nice because you could oversee the ocean and everything. And I don't know, I bring the beer home, and every time I sip it, it's almost kind of taking me back.
Yeah, it's surprising. But, in terms of a favorite drink, I'm kind of a equal opportunity boozer. I'll drink a little bit of everything.
All at
But
the same time?
sometimes, but then I get into trouble the following morning. Maybe if we want to stick along the lines of beer, since that's typically what I'm consuming on game day. That's
Dark
tough.
or light?
Young's double chocolate stout, I'm pretty partial to.
Ooh, you like them dark.
Yeah. Well, I like them light too. It depends on the weather.
Right.
When it's colder, I tend to lean more towards the dark side. And
So if we ask you this question in July, you'll kind of...
yeah, it'll probably be a different answer. You never know.
Right?
You're a politician. I gotcha.
I'm not flip-flopping. My opinions just evolved.
It changes
So,
with the season.
How hard is it to keep a body where you can be topless 9 months out of the year?
Good genetics and metabolism. I wish I had a regiment, but I really don't. I probably need to. I am getting a little bit of a beer gut.
No, that could just be also chalked down to partially age. The beer doesn't necessarily process as well.
No, little column A, little column B.
Yeah. What else, man? You gonna ask him about his hair too?
No, I don't care about his hair. He
Mine's
has
real.
hair. It's disappointing.
On the topic of Trump, my hair is real. It's huge.
It's not a patch of artificial turf. That should be a part of RFK Stadium.
So, I guess we can ask him a couple rapids questions. How do you think next season's going to go with the pickups we've had this season, because we haven't really discussed them all that much today.
Well, it's hard to, not to keep him from his answer, but there really isn't a whole lot. I mean, Gordon scored a goal, but we still haven't seen any sighting of Boateng yet. And, that kind of holds back the excitement a little bit. I don't know about you.
No, it's definitely all quiet on the Rapids front, though we've had quiet off seasons in the past. I mean, on the defensive side of things, I think most of us are pretty comfortable with where we're at. I mean, we didn't really lose anybody. We've still got that core group intact. So I think in terms of preventing goals from being scored, we're in pretty good shape. But the big question that everybody has is, where are the goals going to come from? I mean, Gordon is probably not going to be seeing a lot of time in the first 11 as far as I can tell. He's just going to be that super sub guy. Kind of what Marco Papa was doing last year, where we'd bring him on late if we actually need to start scoring goals. The jury's out on Boateng. I think it'll be curious to see what position Gashi is going to be played in. I think that's going to really dictate, how our offense is going to run. I would like to see him kind of in that, sort of center attacking position where we were putting Jermaine Jones. I think, because we played him a couple times, I believe, last year in that position, and he was pretty solid. And
Scored 3 out of 4 games.
He's at his best when he can kind of roam free a little bit. He's not sort of stuck to one sideline, running up and down, when he can sort of play off the other players and the striker that we're using as a pivot. But that's kind of what I would like to see if I were running the team. But who knows? I can't climb into Pablo's skull to figure it out.
What are your projections as far as what do you think, or how do you feel the club will do? Do you think that they can keep the momentum going as they've done from last year and roll on, or you think it's going to be kind of a slow, staggering start and maybe we'll pick it up at the end and catch things?
I think based on the way our schedule's set up, we're a little bit more congested in terms of short rest at the back end of the schedule. So I think we need to pick up points early. In terms of overall how we're going to be doing, I kind of see us. I think we're probably going to be a playoff team still. We still have a lot of the pieces there that were effective last year. I don't know if we're going to be able to replicate the number of points we accumulated last year, which was historically good for us, but who knows? Maybe we'll make a good summer signing or something.
Right. I mean, I felt like we did set the bar a bit high. I mean, we went for a hell of a run, but it would be great if we could kind of keep that as
our home streak is still going.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, as far as the statisticians are going to go, they're going to, we win on March 4th. They're going to count that as another streak from, last year. We didn't lose at home. Yeah, we did.
Well, regular season.
Well,
Right.
the Seattle
Yeah.
game, but
Yeah.
for some reason when they do statistics,
They
nobody
call
ever
regular
counts.
season.
Nobody counts playoffs for anything.
Right. So take it for what it's worth. But as far as regular season home games go, we got a lot to still protect and go for come the beginning of the season, even though it's 0-0s in the stat sheet. As far as this year, it's not as far as our record goes at home. And having the record that we had at home was one of the big reasons why the Rapids were where they were last year. If it wasn't for that home record, they wouldn't have been there. Not at all. And, I mean, how many times have we said for many years, it would be nice if they could just win at home or even tie at home. Give us something. Give the fans something. They did that last year, and we couldn't complain about it, so we found other things to nitpick or whatever, but we couldn't bitch about the performances at home because we were winning or tying. We never lost. And when we did, it was sad, and that was the end of it. But as that's probably one of the big things for me this year that I would like to see keep going. It would be almost impossible to go another season undefeated at home, but if we can post a 666 record, above 500, somewhere above that at home, then yeah, we definitely have a good chance at making the playoffs. But Quinn did make a point that I forgot all about, being congested at the back end of the schedule. And depending on, cup games, and if we take that seriously, there could be even more games towards the end of the year too.
But at least the silver lining is, since they're redoing the Champions League stuff, we don't have to worry about that this year.
Right.
We get to worry about that next year.
which, who knows where the club will be at next year. I mean, so much can change in 1 year, and, it could be good or bad. But hopefully, if the club continues the role that they've been on, then, there won't be any fire sale changes between this year and next year either. So, but yeah, not a whole lot of updates and information as far as our boys in Burgundy. Maybe next week we'll have a little bit more. There'll be another game in the books or another scrimmage in the books. So hopefully we can talk a little bit more about that. Hopefully we can talk about Boateng. And next week would probably
any hints for the opening season Tifa?
Can't spoil it.
Yeah,
can't spoil it. Big part of TIFO is secrecy, so unfortunately I can't share that info with you guys.
There's a big grin on his face, so that says enough for me. But we'll talk more about maybe jersey launch and our speculation on jerseys next week as it gets closer, because the jersey launch I think has been announced. If it hasn't, I was told
March 1st.
March 1st. Yep. So same kind of ordeal, City Hall and all that good stuff. So we'll touch on that next week and get to our speculations a little bit more.
I think we're actually going to present an award to the front office too. One of the things we did at ISC, we give out awards for TIFO of the year, philanthropic group of the year as well. And another award we actually give out is front office of the year. You're welcome to nominate front offices across the league. We actually won TIFO of the year last year. We didn't get it this year. Timbers Army had that honor. But we did nominate the Rapids FO for front office of the year just because of how our relationship with them has progressed so much. They've really done some solid stuff for us in terms of, accommodating 117 to make it a section that we truly own, giving us favorable ticket deals, allowing you guys to have player access, that kind of thing. I mean, they've been they've helpful for that.
Done a great job as far as working with me and my crew and the media and what we've been able to do at the tailgates, our interviews, our articles, the access to the guys. Yeah, we've had no issues with the front office, so that's for sure.
No, exactly. So we nominated them, and we made a compelling case, and so all the supporters groups voted, and the Rapids front office won. So
Sweet.
We've got a little award we're going to present them.
Awesome.
I guess more details on that forthcoming, but something to look forward to on March 1st.
Yeah, that's awesome. I like it. Coming from our end of it, that's pretty cool. That's a good nice positive note to end that on. So we will see you guys next week.
I'm a hard worker, I'm a hard worker, I'm a hard worker. As a kid, I used to show off to my mama. I had a lot of music and a little bit of drama. I can be more famous than the Dalai Lama. No room for doubt and no room for trauma. Maybe I just slow it down cause I'm just a beginner. Playing the game correct, I'm bound to be a winner. Don't know how to act like you a sinner. That's the way to do it, do it like Christina. Cause I'm a hard worker, serious joker. In a game of poker, I give what I got. Even more than that, I'll bet all I got. Close to the pot, show me a shortcut. I'll make a hit and knock you out of your pajama. Give it all, spit my gut like I'm a llama. I play the bad guy, take it like Osama. And if you